Holy cow, YouTubers, it's Boss Magnus here with another Magic the Gathering Arena video for your viewing or listening pleasure. If you've been watching any of my videos, which it looks like maybe two of you have, you'll have seen that I started a brand new account here at the beginning of 2025. We've amassed 18,200 gold. We have 0 gems because we are not going to purchase any gems. We've completed the challenges. We've gone through the inbox, cleared all of our email. We've gone through the codex, and to date we have amassed 3.9% vault progress, and we have 35 uncommons, 13 rares, and 5 mythics. This is all just free. This is free to play. You download the game and you play the game. You do the things that it says to be able to learn how to play the game. If you've never played Magic the Gathering before, this is a way to learn how to play the game. Low stress. It's not non-competitive, don't get me wrong, but it's a way to be able to learn how to play the game and to amass some cards to do that. The way that you earn this in-game currency of gold is by completing these quests. You can have up to 3 at a time. If you have more than one, I would always try to re-roll the one that you can on a daily basis. You just be able to click on it here and it'll have a little arrow, circular arrow. You click on that, you re-roll it. Try to get instead of a 500, get one of these 750. Again, it's a 50% increase in coins, so it all adds up over time. These are what I'd call your daily quests, your daily win rewards. There's 15 of these, and then these are the weekly win rewards, your weekly quests. There's 15 of these. So this resets on a daily basis. It scales quite a bit. The first 4 pay the most, so you can see I've done 3. The next reward is 100 gold and 25 mastery XP, and it goes down a lot after that. So how much do you have to do? How much do you have to feel like you're compelled to come into the game on a daily basis? Well, it's really up to you. If you're having a good time, I mean, you can just play and you earn whatever you earn. If you're really like steadfast of, I want to grind and I want to get some stuff, I don't know that you really need to worry about playing past the first 4. Because like I said, it's 100 gold and 25 mastery XP. The 25 mastery XP, that goes to this. Magic the Gathering Foundation's Mastery Pass. So, again, free to play. Did not pay to unlock this second tier of rewards. So I'm getting a pack here, an orb here, a pack here. And these packs are what have given me these wild cards in the vault progress. It's given me cards that I can use to build my deck. These orbs, the way the Mastery Pass is set up is you can spend your orbs to either get sleeves if you get 2 orbs or a card style. If you really love a card style, you could get that, but really be careful because you only get this style. You don't get the card. So you don't spend 1 orb and get a copy of Bloodthirsty Conqueror, which is a really quite powerful card. You only get this alternative art style. However, if you spend the 2 orbs and you get one of these sleeves, you can use the sleeve for every deck that you build, if you so choose. Click on the store here. Another thing I would always go into is see what the daily deal is. If it's something that you're interested in, again, this is where you can buy gems, you can buy cosmetics, but again, trying to do the free thing. So, what am I going to do with my gold? Well, I'm going to save it up at this point. I'm going to do a couple things with it. Well, first of all, why do we want to earn this gold? How do we earn it? Well, the season ends in 11 days. So every month, Arena January 2025, you can earn a constructed rank and a limited rank. So you can see I've not played any limited games, but I have played some constructed. And I've played up to the gold level. Now, I think that anybody could play up to the gold level. This is achieved primarily because in the bronze level, I believe, you don't lose any progress when you lose a game. So it's only when you win. And then you get to the silver tier. And when you reach the silver tier, you gain 2 bars of XP, if you will, for every win. And you lose 1 for 1 loss. So you only have to win a little bit more than... I don't know what the percentages are. I'm not a mathematician, but again, because you're getting essentially 2 wins per win and only losing 1 per loss, it makes progress continue to move forward. And the same with gold. But when you reach the, when through silver. When you reach gold, which is where I am, I believe this is where it gets a little challenging. So I'm actually going to show you what I'm going to be doing here in the gold tier. Bronze tier, however, you can see I don't even have a rank, so I'm pre-bronze. And the way that I can achieve bronze rank and at the end of the month earn 1 pack, silver tier 1 pack and 500 gold, is by using my gold in events. So how do I use those in events? I go in here, I click play, I look at events, and I look at limited events. Now, if you were playing this for the very first time, what I would say is use Quick Draft. Quick Draft gives you as much time as you possibly want, and that is going to be really helpful when you're brand new. I'm not going to do that for this video, but it's definitely where I will end up going, as you can see. There are also traditional drafts and premier drafts. You're playing against other people. You're not doing an untimed against AI draft. So that is not where I would spend my money. Another place you could choose to spend your money is here in Jump In. So as you can see, I've been playing. I've got Scrappy Teeny. That's basically the packs that I got with my free Jump In token. Watch another video that I made for that. But I'm going to go ahead and resign this. And it says you will be removed from the event. You will be rewarded based on your current number of wins. Say great. So you can see I can pay 1,000 gold if I want to join again. And when I do that, I will be able to get 3 packets of cards, which has 1 rare in each one. And that's another way that I get some additional cards for my collection. Plus, it gives me new cards to be able to play with to just try them out. And I'm playing against other people who have similar decks, so it's not like unlikely that I'm going to win. And you can play it as many times until you get your 1 win and you get an uncommon card. And these cards do get added to your collection. So, the other way, instead of paying 1,000 and getting these 3 kind of partial packs that each have a rare in them, you can go to the store and you can buy 1 pack. So like if we go into Foundations and we buy 1 pack, that's also 1,000 gold. And there you get potentially 1 or 2 rares or mythics, 3 uncommons, and I can't remember how many commons there are, 6, something like that. I think it's a total of 10 cards in a pack. You do get this vault progress, or excuse me, golden pack progress. So if you buy 10 packs, you actually get a bonus golden pack, which only has rares and mythics in it. So that's another way to accumulate cards. There's videos out there for people who've kind of done the math and shown you what that's like. But you really can't just play with 1 pack. So you're paying 1,000 gold just to open 1 pack of cards, as opposed to if you go into the events and you play Jump In, you're paying 1,000 gold for 3 kind of partial packets, which gives you 3 rares instead of just up to 2 rares or mythics. And you actually play against other people with that. So it's really your preference. If you want to, when you're new, give both of them a try, see what you like, whether you're buying packs or whether you're playing that. But again, initially, I'm going to stay away from limited. I'm going to try to do some constructed. So that is a very long introduction, an 8-minute long introduction into what have we been doing here to get to gold tier 4 in ranked. So I'm not a great player, but I'm not bad. Been playing for a long time in real world Magic. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's been a long time since I played, but I started way back in the day. And I've been playing on Arena now for a year or 2. And I usually make it to Mythic with Constructed. And it's because I grind. I like to play a lot. It's fun. It's something I do kind of on the side on an iPad while I'm watching TV. And so the challenge here was, how can I do this as a free-to-play player? So when you initially start the game, in another video I showed you get all kinds of free cards. We got Aerial Domination, Ancient Discovery, Dynamite. These are the starter dual decks. You got these other decks, Keep the Peace, Large and in Charge. And what I did was I took this deck called Vampiric Hunger and I tweaked it, and this was the deck that I used to rank up. So it is all cards that I either got for free from these decks, or that happen to open up in packs. So what you have available may not be exactly this to be able to build exactly this, but what I would say is you can take one of these decks that is a starting deck that you start your new account with, and modify it a little bit with good cards that you get, and you should be able to get to gold with that. If you are having trouble with that, post what you're trying and what's working and what isn't working, what kind of cards you might have. Be happy to help you out. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that next step that I think I need to take to get to gold. So what I did was I went here. I actually have Untapped GG installed on my computer, and one of the things it does is it gives you this meta overview, which tells me what are the top decks that are being played in best of one. And I went and I downloaded those decks, and those are these decks here. Rakdos aggro, mono black mid-range, mono red aggro, 3 life gains that I found to mirror mid-range, mono black discard of Boros Oros. So I downloaded this because I want to show you that this triangle and this symbol, the mana symbol with the petals, indicates that I can't play these yet because I don't have enough cards. The difference between these symbols are, this means I can actually craft this deck, and this means I can't craft this deck yet. And it says this is the number of wild cards I need to complete the deck. 2 common, 9 uncommon, and 16 rare. So if I combine this up here, you can see I only have 13 rares. This needs 16 rares, so I can't craft it. This one says I need 12 rares. As I said, I've got 13 rares, so I've got enough rares. I need 3 mythics. I have 5 mythics, so I can craft this one. Incidentally, also 20 uncommons and 4 commons, and I've got plenty of uncommons and commons. So I can craft this. But when you're starting out, this is the key thing. You're only going to be able to probably craft one of these decks. So again, I've accumulated these just by opening the packs that I've gotten, just by playing the game, just by getting the free Mastery Pass rewards, by getting the coins and the packs from playing. I can do one of these, I don't want to call it top tier, but one of the more competitive decks. So this is a very personal decision. What kind of deck do you want to play? What kind of player are you? It's a really hard question to answer when you're starting out. Mono red aggro, very popular deck. This is a deck where the goal is to just keep swinging. You've got very aggressive creatures, very low mana curve, 1.5 average. You see, you don't have anything over casting cost of 3. You have Screaming Nemesis, which is a very powerful card here. Rockface Village as a land, you can spend 1 red and tap, and a lot of your creatures are going to be able to get +1/+0, more power, more aggression, and gain haste. So if they didn't have haste, they can attack immediately. You've got powerful removal in Burst Lightning for 1 red, does 2 points of damage. If you have enough mana, you can spend 5 mana and you do 4 points of damage. That's a powerful alternate effect if you've got the extra mana lying around. And worst comes to worst, it's to any target, so I can target your creature or I can target my opponent. Hired Claw, it does a point of damage when it attacks, regardless of if it gets blocked. And you can use as a mana sink to make it bigger. Monstrous Rage is a very powerful instant spell, which combined with something like Monastery Swiftspear, which has prowess, which keeps getting bigger every time you cast a spell. These are all powerful synergies that work together. This is one kind of deck. You have also Rakdos aggro, which is more or less a similar kind of deck. This is a little bit more complicated to play, I think. There's some interesting lines here where you play the Cacophony Scamp, you pump it up with Felonious Rage, you sacrifice it with Callous Sellsword, which does damage equal to its power, but Cacophony Scamp, when it dies, it also does its power. So it's like, okay, well, how do I figure out how to get this thing to pump up to 7 points of damage that I can attack, and then I sacrifice it and it does 7 points of damage, and that adds up to more than 20 points of damage. It's a little bit more complicated to play, I think, sometimes, but it's also a very aggressive deck. You have Mono Black mid-range here, which has spells like Duress. You get information about your opponent's hand. You could pull cards out of their hand. You could see what kind of deck they're playing. You could pull their bombs out potentially. Got Deep Cavern Bats, which again, more hand disruption, slows the game down. This is a mid-range deck. It's not a highly aggressive deck. You've got lots of removal and cut down, nowhere to run, go for the throat, Sheoldred's Edict, and Liliana of the Veil. The way that this deck wins is You've got some really powerful big creatures in Archfiend of the Dross, which is a demon, Bloodletter of Aclazotz, which is a demon. They work with Unholy Annex, that when you have demons, you're not only drawing a card when you open up the Unholy Annex, but you're gaining life and your opponent is losing life. You can also bring a demon to the battlefield with Ritual Chamber, Unstoppable Slasher, which the opponent loses half their life if it does damage. Combined with Bloodletter of Aclazotz is a 1-turn kill, because Bloodletter of Aclazotz says you lose twice that much life, so you lose half of it from the Unstoppable Slasher and half of it from Bloodletter of Aclazotz. So if you're into like those kinds of 1-turn, big turn kills, this might be something, but this is also a deck that requires a little bit more patience. What you're trying to do is keep the board clear and remove your opponent's creatures until you can set up and gain a lot of advantage by outdrawing your cards and, you know, gradually getting your life back after having lost a lot of it in the early stage. Mono black discard, a little similar to mono black mid-range. Again, you can see a lot of the same kinds of hand disruption type effects. Bandit's Talent, also hand disruption, but it also does damage and draws you extra cards. Liliana, not only creature removal, but hand disruption. The idea being eventually you get Sheoldred out or Preacher of the Schism and it goes to town because you removed everything out of your opponent's hand and off of the board. So another more mid-range deck. Dimir mid-range, again, maybe a little bit more of a complicated deck for somebody who's starting out. It has creatures that have flash, so you cast them on your opponent's turn. Flash has a cast on your opponent's turn. It has tricks that you can play to tap and block your opponent's cards. Tishana's Tidebinder, you counter an activated or triggered ability. There's a lot of complexity that goes along with this. Casting Enduring Curiosity after your creatures don't get blocked, so you just draw massive cards. This is, again, a mid-range deck, so you're trying to live through the first parts of the match, live through the first turns against a highly aggressive deck, and then be able to make it. The big reason why like a deck like this takes a lot of cards to complete, you can see it rares 26. I only have 13 rares. It's because of lands. So I want to highlight this. This is a black and blue deck, so when I look at it, look at this. 4, 5, 3, 2, 4, 3. These are all rare or mythic lands. I think they're all rare. Let me look back again. Yep. They're all rare lands. So that's a lot of rare cards that come in there. Kaito, mythic, you know. So this requires a lot of wild cards, and it's a complicated deck. So if you're starting out, what would I suggest? I'd suggest something like mono red aggro. I would suggest mono black discard, mono black midrange. Or what I'm going to go with and what I'm going to show, which I think might be the best option, is a life gain deck. So the idea here is you're playing small creatures. You have a low mana curve similar to mono red. You don't have a lot of the same kind of removal that red has. But what you're doing is whenever you bring a creature into the battlefield, you're gaining life. So you're offsetting the life that you're losing, and eventually you just gain so much life that your opponent can't keep up, and you swarm them with creatures and you swarm them with card advantage. And there's a couple of versions that are out there. So this one I just named Life Gain with Ley Lines, and it uses Leyline of Hope. This is a card that comes into play for free if it's in your opening hand, and when you gain life, you get an extra life. And if you have 7 more life than you started, so you start at 20, if you have 27 life, everything you get has an Anthem effect of getting +2/+2. It also uses Night Errant of Eos, which you tap other creatures to use as mana, and then you can go and get more creature cards. That allows you to act kind of as a card drawing spell. What I don't like about this in this deck is you have to take a turn off. Now, that may not matter, but this is the way that you're also drawing cards. There aren't other card drawing effects in here. The other thing with this kind of life gain deck is you have enablers and you have payoffs. The enabling is the gaining of life. You gain that with lifelink. Every point of damage the Healer's Hawk does, you gain a life. And you have cards like Hinterland Sanctifier, which has the ability of when another creature you control enters, gain a life. So this is another way of gaining life. You have Leonin Vanguard, which if you have 3 creatures in play, this gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn, and you gain a life. And then you have payoffs, like Ajani's Pridemate. Whenever you gain a life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Another reason I don't like this deck so much is because it doesn't have very many of those payoffs. You have Ajani's Pridemate, which is a payoff. You have Essence Channeler, which also gets +1/+1 counter every time you gain life. But that's it. So if I look at the Case life gain, so I called it that because it utilizes Case of the Uneaten Feast as one of its life gaining. So whenever a creature you control enters, you gain a life. And if you gain 5 or more in a turn, this case is solved, and that way at some point in the future you can sacrifice it and you can cast creatures that are in your graveyard. Very powerful effect. I like this card. This is a good card. Again, you see the same payoffs, Ajani's Pridemate and Essence Channeler. But this has another payoff which I like. It uses Cat Collector, which only on your turn, when you gain life, you create a 1/1 cat token. This is important, and this is the payoff, because if you have Enduring Innocence in play, when that cat token comes into play, you get to draw a card. And this is a powerful effect. It only triggers once each turn, and you have the Cat Collector, which can trigger on your turn, and then you have this card Fountain Port, which you can pay a life and create a blue fish creature token. You can do that on your opponent's turn, so you can draw a card on your turn, you can draw a card on your opponent's turn. This kind of card advantage can really either get you to the victory or get you out of a bind as well. So I like the fact that this has a little bit more card draw as well as an additional payoff. Then if I look at this life gain deck, which is the third one that I pulled, this one uses some additional cards. It has Skrelv. Now this is not a life gain card, but what it does is it protects your cards. So you can tap, choose a color, creature gets toxic and hexproof from that color. So if somebody says, I'm going to go for the throat, black and 1, destroy your creature, you can go, nope, I'm going to use my Skrelv, I'm going to give it hexproof, you can't target it. Essentially the way that this works out in play is usually you just force people to have to deal with the Skrelv before they can deal with anything else. So that's why that's in here. It also runs Sunblessed Healer, which again, lifelink, means it's a 3/1, gains life, which is good, and it can bring back a creature that's mana value 2 or less, which as you can see, that is most of what the deck is, but it doesn't bring back the Knight Errant or the Linden of Steadfast. This also mixes in the Enduring Innocence as a card draw, but it doesn't have the cat tokens that are appearing, and it also doesn't have the Fountain Port in order to draw on your opponent's turn. So I like those cards, so I'm going to build this deck. It utilizes the Case. It has Ajani's Pridemate as a payoff. It has Essence Channeler as a payoff. It has Cat Collector to create token creatures, Enduring Innocence to draw cards. Instead of using 4 Fountain Ports, I use 2. Why? Because I don't have enough rares to do so. So when I pulled out 2 Fountain Ports, I replaced them with the Plains. And there were 2, I can't remember the card. The Legend, which is a 2/1, and when it comes into play, it destroys an artifact or enchantment. Also a rare. I didn't have enough for that card, so what I replaced it with that I had in the collection was a Sky Knight Squire, another 2-drop. It's only a 1/1, but when another creature comes into play, it gets +1/+1, and if it has 3 or more counters on it, it's flying. That works well with the Cat Collector, it works well with the Fountain Port, it works well with all these low casting cost creatures that I have. And then I threw in 1 Helpful Hunter. Again, card draw, it's a 1/1, triggers Enduring Innocence, and also because another creature triggers all these other effects. So this is the final life gain that I'm going to go with. I'm going to build this, and I'm going to say craft all, and when I do that, I get redeem 26 wild cards. Do I want to do this? Let's go for it. Let's see what happens. Now, one thing when you do this kind of a thing, you need to make sure you don't have cards in your sideboard, because sometimes when you download a deck, that has cards in the sideboard, and you might be building cards that somebody put in the sideboard, even if it's only set up for a best of 1, that you didn't even want to have. So, final life gain is the deck that I'm going to play. This was, I guess you could call it the introduction to me getting into the ladder, and I'm going to record some videos of me playing on the ladder. So hopefully you take a look at those and enjoy those. But for now, I'm going to call this a video. Thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate your time. Throw a like and a subscribe. Tell me what you want to see. Please be my first subscriber. And I'm going to keep doing these whether or not you subscribe or whether you view or you like this or you comment on it, just because I'm having a good time. I'm trying to figure this thing out. I'm learning how to video edit, add introductions, so hopefully you can see that I'm growing a little bit in my skill as well. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good one.